Humans have been fascinated with unicorns for centuries. These mythical animals represent every happy dream you've ever had as a child, replete with all things warm and sparkly. And that is useful when you're living in an age where there are darker and scarier things that you would not like to happen. In a nutshell, it's an escape from the drudgery, the sheer reality of everyday life. In the world of business, this need for instant gratification has been captured and monetized perfectly by the packaged foods and beverages sector. And we gathered here today to identify the next and the latest unicorn in India, that company or the successful venture with an estimated valuation of more than $1 billion. India today is home to about 860 million people who fall under the average working age population of 26 years and is likely to become a home to 1 billion people eligible to enter the job market by 2050. These 20-somethings, the millennials, born between 1980 and 2000, already form a staggering 40% of our total population. The millennials are disrupting business models everywhere in the world. Global corporations have been pouring money into India to capture this large market. This has given birth to the sunrise sector of food processing, which has already seen inflows of $7 billion in the past decade. To channelize this growth, India's Food Processing Ministry has set up the Mega Food Park scheme to provide modern infrastructure facilities to build the whole supply chain from farm to fork. To do that, let's identify the millennials first. Who are they and what they want? Popular British marketing consultant Simon Sinek defined millennials as lazy, arrogant, unable to cook, open to change, experimental, and with a strong sense of entitlement. They are also tech-savvy. They crave constant feedback and give constant feedback. They are the most brand-loyal generation, as they choose brands with which they can relate with, and hence the drop rate in brand loyalty is the lowest. Most of these attributes have led to the creation of niche product categories in packaged foods, such as organic cereals and pulses, organic milk, cold-pressed juices, and products with natural ingredients without preservatives. Dairy products, which were earlier made at home, are now readily available in ready-to-eat and ready-to-drink formats at all modern trade outlets. We will discuss this and more in our second panel today, called the Unicorns. But first, let's watch this video clip.
Ding, 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 ding. There he sits inside your local coffee shop, sporting a man bun and facial hair. Somehow he believes, although he has no job, that by his 30s he will be a millionaire. M-I-L-L-E-N-N-I-A. Gotta love millennials. M-I-L-L-E-N-N-I-A. Gotta love millennials. She posts lots of selfies on her Instagram with a quote that's inspirational. Hopes to change the world while wearing yoga pants, armed with her dreams and knowledge of essential oils. M-I-L-L-E-N-N-I-A. Gotta love millennials. M-I-L-L-E-N-N-I-A. Gotta love millennials. 27 years old, trying to make it on their own. Maybe stop by leaving your parents home, but maybe we're just wrong. Criticism isn't easy for their ears. They feel like they know most everything. See, they grew up with undeserved confidence, 'cause they got trophies just for participating. M-I-L-L-E-N-N-I-A. Gotta love millennials. M-I-L-L-E-N-N-I-A. Gotta love millennials.
Now I would like like to welcome on stage Mr. Sanjeev Kapoor, celebrity chef, an entrepreneur, writer, and television personality. Kapoor stars in the TV show Khana Khazana, which is the longest-running show of its kind in Asia in 2010 and had 500 million viewers at peak. He also launched his own channel, Food, in January 2011, and Discovery Communications, through its Indian organization, has acquired a majority stake in Kapoor's channel. I'd like to welcome him on stage. Next, I'd like to welcome Narayanan KS, ex-President Seasonings and Flavors for VKL Seasoning. He is a veteran in food and beverages industry with a decade in leadership roles. He was previously the CEO of Pan India Food Solutions, which runs a chain of fine dining restaurants, cafes, and parlors. He was ex-MD of McCain Foods and part of Unilever Food Solutions. I'd like to stage, please. Next up, Mr. Alamjit Singh Sekon, Associate Director of Marketing, Kellogg's India, responsible for disruptive innovation across categories and for snacking and hot cereals. Started his career in Nestle and part of various innovations and campaigns, including Maggi, 2 Minute Mein Khushiyan, and Main Meri Maggi. I would like to welcome Mr. Hevant Malhotra, co-founder Zolta, co-founder Rocket Internet India. Hevant has 12 years of experience in e-commerce, manufacturing, and consulting. Zolta is India's first brand producing fruit-based soft drinks, and Hevant has previously worked with McKinsey and ITC. And I would like to welcome Mr. Prashant Parameshwaran, founder and MD Soulful. Prashant is Managing Director of Kotram Agro Foods, which is into breakfast cereals made out of ragi under the brand Soulful. And last but not the least, Mr. Vispi Doctor, founder Ormax Consultants. He's recognized as one of India's most incisive consumer knowledge experts and has been associated with leading brands like Cadbury's, Titan, Thumbs Up, Asian Paints, and many, many more. Welcome, sir. I shall now hand over the panel to Mr. Doctor. Thanks.
In the interest of full disclosure, I have a very low tolerance for cold, and this room is quite arctic in its temperature. So I'm going to shiver and quake, and if the paper flies out from my hands, you know why that is. So, all right, you're looking for me. Okay, so the topic for today is category unicorns in packaged foods. Now that's very exciting and very interesting because we're talking about category unicorns, especially aimed at the millennials. There are two key words over here, unicorns and millennials. And millennials, you've already seen a video, can't get better than that. I think some of you all missed it. It's a great video. In fact, about 40% of India, 40% are millennials. In fact, just last week, my son came up to me and said things like, "Dad, we millennials need." I didn't know I had a millennium lurking in my house. We have one at home now. Alright. The more interesting word is unicorns. Largely in the startup industry, a unicorn is something about a company that suddenly became $1 billion. And today we're not talking about brands, we're not talking about products, we're talking about a category. Okay? So for today I'm going to define a unicorn as a category that has the potential for sudden, unexpected growth. Two keywords over here, sudden and unexpected. Sudden because we're now looking at legacy categories. These have been growing steadily like packaged salt, and that's not very interesting. We need something that is sudden, something that is explosive, that has the potential to grow suddenly and unexpected. Because otherwise it would already have been done. Yeah? And that's what makes unicorns so interesting. Unicorn categories characterized by no one thought about it, no one expected it. Look at what happened with Uber. Suddenly out of nowhere, an entire new category was brought. New category was brought. New category was thrown up. And today we're examining these potential categories from a millennial perspective. And these perspectives change significantly. For example, look at this whole wellness movement. I believe for the generation before the millennials, the baby boomers, many of us are baby boomers, wellness was not even a thought. Statistics show that only 10% of baby boomers even thought about eating right. But today, a staggering, massive 25% of millennials think about eating right and are doing something about it and talking about it. And this number is growing, and this is all one generation apart. You know, people like me who come from a branding and positioning background, with our infinite hubris, believe that any product or any brand can be made into a unicorn. But frankly, we don't think so really. There have to be categories that have the potential for this sudden explosive growth. And we're looking for growth in the packaged food industry. And that's what we're going to do today. So the way we're going to do this is, I've got an extremely distinguished panel over there. I've got 2 senior corporate people, 2 entrepreneurs, and 1 celebrity. So we've got a very heavy mix. All that. So what I've got is I've got questions for each one of them. So we'll begin by a question for each one of them. And then we will continue asking questions, or we can have a discussion. Remember, it's a panel discussion, not a question answer. Right. So I have a bunch of questions, and I'm going to start with Sajid. So we hear that people today are cooking less. The question to you, is that so? Are people today cooking less?
So, depends, actually, is cooking being done less? No. Answer is, there's more cooking that is happening today. But depends where is that cooking happening. If the question is that, are people cooking at home lesser than what it was? Yes, the answer is yes. But there are more people, so there's more food, and more cooked food is being eaten. Somebody is cooking it. Somebody is definitely cooking it. At home, people are cooking lesser. Yes, that is the right answer. And we know the reason why. It's not, I don't think it's only the reason of interest. There is interest from younger generation. The consumption of, because we track it from content consumption from different platforms, that consumption has increased continuously. But at home cooking by people, that has definitely reduced.
So that is reduced, where are they getting their food from?
So that need is being answered. So at times through at times through processed foods or through different service providers, somebody is feeding them. There's fresh food that is available, much more easily available than before. Then there is food that is available to them through different service providers. Could be restaurants, could be street food, could be Sodexo, Compass, different food providers. So that food is being served. So they are fulfilling that need depending on what constraints they are living in. So there are places, there are big office complexes, and they don't have a kitchen there. So there is a vendor who would come in with the food, or there is somebody that in city like Mumbai, there would be a dabba wala. So each place has its own opportunity and challenges both. Some people who can afford, they will go out, there are people who can order in. So there are different service providers, there are different products that are there. There are packaged food which are short shelf life products, there are longer shelf life products that are there. So some people carry khakra which can last for a month for their lunch. Some people can go down and have fresh fruit that is cut. Where my office is, we have outside the Ashra studio, there are about 30, 40 different vendors who are there, and the whole office people, they just go there, and people who can afford will go to a better restaurant. So people are eating, it's not that people are eating less.
Alright. So we'll keep this answer in mind when we are looking for potential unicorns in our packaged foods industry. Anamjit, you're from Kellogg's, and you're seeing this world from outside almost, okay? Outside from what the entrepreneurs are doing. So theoretically, there should be lots of unicorns because India is replete with opportunities. So my question to you is, are there actually any impediments, any things that stop unicorns from happening in India? What prevents categories and brands from becoming unicorns?
So I think I had the privilege of working on something which you could have called unicorn possibly, so I'm working on an idea, and I would pretty much classify that as a unicorn as well, I would say from a package perspective. And what I think is that very, very often what happens is that this is determined by being very risk averse. People start thinking about, we're trained in terms of our management school to take lesser and lesser risks. So you try and stick it to what is tried and tested. Now what that does is, it starts to make you work on only things that are incremental. Whereas when you start talking of unicorns, it's about trying to find that opportunity which may be very, very different from what the others are doing. So I'll take a non-food example out here. And I talk of a category, for example, you talk of the deodorants category. Now out there, Axe was leading the pack. And Axe was talking only and only about the fact that when I use this, it makes me more sexy, more desirable. Now everyone else was just trying to do that. Because they were thinking that this is the thing that's working and this is the thing that's working for Axe. Whereas what the customer or the consumer needed was something which was long lasting. Something in terms of saying, okay, with this wears off by the end of the evening, and we suddenly had another category or suddenly had another brand, Fog, was created and stopped it completely. So what does happen is that you need to take a step back and see things from a slightly outside perspective. And very, very often this is easier to do it outside in. Because then you're unencumbered by, oh, this worked, this didn't work, this can't happen, this is this complexities. And that's one of the big impediments to this. The second thing I think is patience. What does happen is that, again, I take the example of Maggie where I worked for a while. When Maggie came into India, across the world, across India, there were like different reactions to it. People in Rajasthan would say this is Sevain. And they would throw off the masala sachet and cook it sweet with milk. Some people in the south would think that, what is this? This is BB Burns. Now, if that was the reaction that was understood by people saying, okay, this doesn't work, let's shut it down, we would have had a very different story. But the company had believed that there's a fundamental promise of taste taste and convenience, and then it's made at home, so it's healthier than some of the other things you have, and stuck on with it. So the other part is patience. It's not about only looking at what happens in 1 year and then shutting down a business. Talk of Nespresso. So some of these are common because you need to have patience. That's one of the impediments. And then look at it from a perspective of not only incremental but outside in. So that's what I would think would be the impediments.
Well, you just stole one of my examples that I was going to give you about fog.
Oh my.
My company was part of that, and I was going to give that as an example, but I will think about another one. Okay, Prashant, Soulful. I love the name. Great. Two great names over here, Soulful and Soulful. I like them both. Okay, so we're talking about unicorn, we looked at the impediments. But even if a unicorn was to show up, or a category were to have explosive growth, is our infrastructure ready for something? So can India support a new unicorn?
So when I look at infrastructure, essentially when you hear the word infrastructure, it goes over, right? The way I look at infrastructure is the ecosystem. Right? So when you look at the ecosystem, you look at it from supply all the way to marketplace, also in terms of where the mindset was also shifted. Because all of them together form part of what we call the infrastructure. So if I look from a consumer perspective as well, thanks to the brands, like okay, it's going to challenge your thought, it's going to challenge why you've been doing what you're doing, and potentially also change the way you're going to do things in the future. This is a major space as well, because kids are, never in India have actually kids been influencers, right? I mean, it's always been, you've been getting slapped, and that's what we all got, but today it's kind of reversing. So that's one massive change that's going to happen. health, wellness, well-being space that we operate in is very, very important, which you can see by the number of marathons, all the stuff that you see around. So for me, that is an important part, because at the end of the day, if the consumer does not see, and if we as the industry does not serve what the consumer wants, the industry doesn't even survive. The other space is, how do I actually reach out to these people? Which I will look at trade channels and spaces. Today, e-commerce, you don't need to tell somebody that you can open up an app and try and buy something. You don't need to tell somebody that, hey, you can actually buy something from them. The Amazons, the big baskets, the Flipkarts, Snapdeals, whatever it is, have actually done an entire part, which is actually, to me, a large piece. Because what really, as was being said earlier, what has always been the biggest impediment to get innovation to the consumer is how do I get product to the consumer? Today, that has just changed. Right? I mean, I might go to a physical retailer, and it's quite difficult to go a million retailers one by one, and physically get a product. But today, I can actually get product in front of India by speaking to 4 people and then reaching out to the consumers through the digital space. Right? So that infrastructure is completely changed. So then you can actually go through the whole early adopters and then move in, figure out which markets are there, which markets are actually liking a product, and actually further it tailor to you. Because India, at the end of the day, every 200, 300 kilometers is a case profile for change. Right? So it allows you also to tweak, which then allows the company itself to be extremely nimble. Right? So if you start seeing the entire system, that to me is great. GST, right, is a perfect layer on top of this. Right? How it plays out, I mean, it's quite painful, it has been, but the way it has been playing out is a perfect ease into this. And I think over a 4-5 year period, if you take a very macro view, I think this is phenomenal. And I think India is ready for that kind of exclusive growth. That's my view.
Sounds so good. Evan, whenever we talk about unicorns, we talk about brands, products. But we talk about physical product, things. My question to you is, can services, can infrastructure have the potential of becoming a unicorn? So, for example, can manufacturing, can refrigerated truck supply become a unicorn? Can other things other than physical products have the potential of becoming unicorns in this space?
So, I thought about the question. I think I was part of tech before, so we used to invest. And we have a concept, whenever we used to look at something which could potentially become big, right? We used to have a concept called value depth. And value depth is basically all those businesses which can grow up to a certain scale, have great unit economics, look very, very perfect, right? At a niche level or a small scale. But for example, the US that would be $50 million. You could always find multiple such businesses. But they would never scale to 500 or a million. Because the minute you want to scale, you either need to manage bandwidth or you need to go outside the country, you need to play to a larger market. And there has to be something unifying in its team rather than being niche, right? Or being opportunistic. So I think that if I were to start playing that back and saying that what is it that would allow unicorns to emerge outside of products? Because products would be easier as a defining team, right? Services, etc., there is much more that it's not that the market doesn't exist, there's a huge market, but there's much more work that needs to be done, professionalism that needs to be brought in, integration that needs to happen for unicorns to and emerge over there. And that requires serious effort and serious intellectual capital to be deployed. And now that I run around the business, we look for service providers who could come and give solutions to us. But traditionally, the approach and the thought has always been to differentiate only on cost, not on solution. Always the solution is I am X cheaper. It is not about speed or outcome. It is always about how cheap I am. And that can only take you so far. That can never take you beyond value depth. And I think with the GST coming in, I see more options, more opportunities for having larger addressable markets so that we can go bigger and bigger as a business. And I think also the GST what are the other steps that are being taken? I would say that the environmental friction that I can see over the last 3 years has gone down. Otherwise, again, to scale, one is the product challenge, the market challenge, and the consumer challenge. And then there's an environmental challenge that you have to address as you're growing as a business owner, and if you want explosive growth. So I think things are starting to move in that direction. There are always opportunities. I think, and also would like to kind of something to start with saying is something new. For us, we do beverages, we find that our jeera drink, which is a traditional Indian flavor, does really well. And we found that this was something that we grew up with, but somehow was taken out of portfolios for a variety of reasons by bigger agencies. We introduced it, we found that we didn't have a taste for it, and a very strong taste for it, a very strong preference for that. That is the leading ingredient. We find that in juices, 80% is mango in India, 90% plus of mango in India. We find less than 40% for us is mango because we like fruit and we like flavors. We find lychee does very well for us. Apple does very well for us, which was HPMC in North India. So, but coming back, I would just say that there is a kind of there's a very broad market sitting there that you don't need to invent something which even play on what exists in our flavors and tastes as we move on as ingredients.
It's very interesting. One aspect that you talked about was our preoccupation with cost. I think that that's something which is very endemic to the Indian way of thinking. And as entrepreneurs, we often get focused on and stuck on cost and do not weigh it off against value. In this mental shift from cost to value to become a very, very powerful driver for companies to have explosive growth. And I think that's something that we need to teach our minds to do. Very interesting. Narayan, are there categories that millennials will become big consumers of? There must be categories. We've now seen what millennials are. Are there categories that millennials will become big consumers of?
I think good morning to all of you, and as we've seen in the panel discussion just right before, I thought we'll just take a step backward and try and see what the mega trends are. What is it that millennials are doing differently? And then let's see what sort of emerges out of the whole structures in there. And elements of it we already heard, which are talking of the whole health segment, people are conscious about it, etc. And then here we're talking of the whole ethnic segment, ethnic jeera flavor and all of that which is there. So I mean, in the industry for so long, was close to 3 decades. So been a close follower of this and trying to see, we read the mega trends, what's happening abroad. What is it in relevance to a country like India and people around us and all of us put together with that? So I put it as sort of 5 broad mega trends, as I would say. And the first and foremost is that what I call it, we all know of entertainment, but I think which we all are familiar with either cricket or Bollywood. I would sort of say that particularly with the new generation, with out of home eating, etc. increasing, well, I would call it entertainment. So I think we eat first with all our senses. So before we put it into our mouth, we smell it, we take and I think today with the advent of mobile phones, we first take a photograph, we tell the whole world, it's all over social media, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, and then only we start consuming it. So that I see is a mega trend. How is it that as a processed food manufacturers or as restaurateurs, how do we sort of benefit and build on that? Or it could also be even retailers, not only processed food manufacturers. How do we build on this whole thing? Food which is Instagrammable, packaging which is outstanding, exotic presentation, packaging, the whole range of aspects that will come under what I would call as the first mega trend of entertainment is there. The second, as Evan mentioned, is I think food is always cultural, food is always local. We all have our mother's taste, our grandmother's taste, and recipes and all of that. So it tugs us back to the roots, what I would call nostalgia. It could be through street food, it could be through grandmother's recipes, it could be through a variety of options and opportunities there. It could be through either through food, it could be even an additive, it could be a dip, a chutney, all those sort of things as well which coming in there. It could also be in terms of suddenly you see makhanas coming back. I think the whole world had forgotten it and it became a fasting food. Now suddenly everybody's come mainstream, health.
combination of variety of aspects, adding and bringing this whole thing up. So this is the second mega trend of nostalgia, which I would say is there. The third thing, which is something which I have coined, and then I say that it's like New Year resolution foods. As we say that every now December, January, so what do you call, the requisition for gyms, etc. suddenly goes up. By March, it is all vanished completely. Same thing every year, all of us say we want to eat healthy, etc. And health means different for Wispy, different for chef, different for me. And if you put all the health aspects together, I think it's a medicine. So how do we sort of convert this entire health trend, all of that? So it could be in terms of adding nuts to it, adding less salt, less sugar, less fat, whatever it is, a variety of going back to traditional foods. All of that is something which we need to try and figure out and see what is it that a consumer or a set of consumers, the millennials in this case, sort of build on that. The fourth one I would say is something what I call the international invasion. Suddenly you are seeing sriracha sauce, piri piri. I mean, none of us had even heard of it 5 years back, and chef is very clear. Suddenly you're seeing people talking about it. We've never tasted the real wasabi, but suddenly again you're seeing a whole lot of these international tastes coming into the Indian market. And mind you, it is not being implemented or accepted in its as it is form. It is suddenly, okay, you take piri piri, you put curry leaves into that, suddenly it becomes Indian, ethnic, it goes back to our roots, a whole range of combinations which really come into that. So it is this whole, what's happening in the rest of the world, I need to be seen to be eating it, I need to be seen to be doing it, consuming it, or making it, etc., etc. So that I would call it the fourth mega trend. The fifth one I would say is, I would call it possibly sort of meal in a box, or something which you get pre-prepared breakfast kits, as what Prashant is doing to. In terms of providing a complete solution. As chef also says, people are cooking less. It could be a combination of a lack of time. It could also be a lack of skill. Many dishes, I'm sure, a lot of people still don't know how to cook at home. So if we can provide a complete solution, give it to them. And today we do a lot more surfing on the web, getting online, offline, etc. So these, I would say, are the big 5 mega trends sweeping across the world. India is no different. We are seeing it being implemented, accepted in a different form. Coming from the mega trend into what I would call the millennials. The millennials is the set of people, I would say, who've grown up with a computer in their homes. I don't think when we were younger we even saw one in our home. We had to go to our office or somewhere else to see it. So that is number one. And today it's even worse. Each one of them has got a laptop, a phone or a smartphone in their hands from the age of almost 3, 4, 5, whatever you call it. And as a result of it, they are far more exposed. They are far more aware. We as parents sort of encourage them as well even more. So building on all of that. So keeping the mega trends and the whole millennial thing in terms of the knowledge being higher, awareness being higher, etc. How is it that this is going to affect future? So very clearly we see among the 5 mega trends which is there, we said very clearly these millennials are looking for experiences. What about experiential shops, experiential food festivals? All of this can really build on it. I mean, today we are seeing some elements of it. Today we don't get a ticket for a movie or go to a mall. Let's go to spend some time in food hall. So about people go spend about half an hour, 45 minutes, see new things, new products. So all of this, can this as a mega idea be taken up? So I think it also answers your question of services. End of the day, supermarket for food is not a product as such. It's a complete service that you offer. You have chefs over there explaining certain things. You have food knowledge. You have experts who are sort of passing on knowledge. You've got manufacturers giving details out. So all of this could be a new thing. A very wide idea for a municipality. We're seeing today Crawford Market. Anything and everything you want, you go there, virtually from anything under the sun, you get it over there, whether it's equipment, to a crockery, to a cutlery, to a food. Why not brand it and push it across as a food market of the world? So even for the municipality of Bombay Municipal Corporation, you sort of take this to the completely next level and experience this whole food aspect of it. So that could be this whole experiential thing, could be an area of where a unicorn could emerge. The second important thing, as we also said, is millennials. They are more knowledgeable. They are looking at health, all of that. So as a result of it, they are also looking at snacking, on-the-go snacking, healthy snacking. And as we see that in India, snacking, I mean, we are literally a snacking nation. Wide variety of snacks, from what our grandmothers used to make to what the latest international concepts being brought into the country. Millions of them available, and now millions of flavor combinations available. How do we sort of put that together, take it in a very purposeful manner to the consumers and build up that whole thing? So that would be another, I would say, in terms of snacking, bring in elements of experience, packaging, how you present it, to product, ingredients that go in, flavors, etc., and build on that. That would be another huge unicorn opportunity coming out. Third thing very clearly is that we are seeing, as also Chef said, cooking inside the home has possibly come down, but cooking outside the home or presenting food, out of home eating has gone up many-fold. Each one of us sitting in the room, what we were 10 years back to what we are today, all of us at least eat once in a day, once in a week. We literally go out and eat. Why not taking back on the other elements of ethnic, Indianness, our own heritage, etc. Why not an Indian QSR? You today have a McDonald's, Domino's, etc. with 1,500, 300 odd outlets. Why not an Indian QSR with about 1,000 outlets? I'm sure there is an opportunity, there is a possibility, and as Evan also mentioned, there needs to be patience, there needs to be a sort of commitment and resources obviously to go behind it in a sustained manner. So I clearly see there are opportunities across sectors, whether it's product or whether it is in terms of services, where a unicorn can and could emerge.
Thank you, great answer. Think about the average Pani Puri one. Imagine what the branding opportunity for that is. The ultimate QSR. Absolutely. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that moving from, today many of us don't go out and have, what do you call, a Pani Puri because of suspecting the water and XYZ, but those still that market is extremely large. We have seen elements of like Haldiram and all of them coming in with a packet of A, B, C, D4 ingredients made in a box. And then you sort of make it at home and build on it. And then this also gives the added advantage of the person in the house, whether it's the housewife or the young couple or whoever is doing it, to sort of add their own signature to it. I mean, they could add X, Y, Z ingredients to it to make it more palatable, to make it more interesting.
Sounds good. So I unleashed one question at each of you all, and now onward we can have a discussion. So feel free to pile on and argue, disagree, get blood on the floor.
Yeah. I just want to add on these trends thing. So I think there are two Indias that.
The next question was about that.
Was it? So no, I just want to build on that. What I've seen is that there are two Indias that move. One India that talks and one India that consumes. And talk and consumption are two different things. So there are conversations that will happen, and there is consumption that will happen. So I say that India is we love to talk about salads, but we consume samosa. So it's talk salad means samosa. So that's the dichotomy. That's the challenge. That so there is talk always. Oh, look at marathon. Last year, how many of you know that there were about 40,000 people in the biggest marathon city of Mumbai? Do we know what the population of Mumbai is? 40,000 people only, and not all over millennials. So these are realities, something that is seen as large. The conversations are large. Good thing is when the conversations there, consumption likelihood is increased. But unicorn, by definition, what we see, to build in product category, if you would say, to build in food 100 crore brand itself for some people takes a very long time. So I think where would it come in that we understand what the challenges are, where we are. In my mind, the unicorn, if we have to seriously look at it, and we are talking of millennials. So by the way, so I have two daughters. When I talk of millennials, they both look at each other, they laugh, they say millennial is passé. Dad, are you on Snapchat? This is something they asked me 4 years ago. And today they say, no, that's passé. So that's the speed at which they talk. And unfortunately, we are talking of unicorns. The average age of this panel We know nothing about it. Reality.
So my company once was commissioned to do a study on sanitary napkins by an organization where the entire department were made. There was not a single female in the entire department. So,
That was,
not actually.
Please you mentioned about this thing, like it's the vocal minority, you call it, and I would say the silent majority.
Yes.
And a lot of people start addressing the vocal minority
Yes.
without really trying to tap onto the silent majority, which would then be the hotbed of being potentially recalled.
You know, Sanjeev, you talked about trends, and what I had written over here was, if you look at culinary trends in India, is there any particular direction that they are heading in?
Okay, so
Think about a direction for culinary trend.
I think what is good is in terms of if I were to look at products, primarily, not services. So from a product point of view, if we were to look at trends in last 50 years, maybe 75 years, not much has changed. It's not changed. We have not changed our taste. It's khatta, meetha, tikha, namkeen. That continues. So it's not something that has changed. Be it McDonald's, be it McCain, be it whatever, it still is in same taste zone. That trend has not changed. So when we talk about Indianizing something, where is the need? Why was the need? No, because that is demand, and that's not changing. The change is the consumer, where we want to, and the other thing is that we always believe Indian, we like to have more value than whatever we are buying. So as a child, I remember we used to buy samosa from one place because my dad said, वो समोसे में काजू और किशमिश डालता है. Now, samosa में काजू और किशमिश क्यों चाहिए? Why do you need that? Because that's higher value. For same price, you're getting higher value. So when you can get more value, and also now there is an aspirational need. So that's where the lychees of the world is more aspirational. So taste hasn't changed. That drink still needs to be sweet. It has to meet all the taste parameters. So, and also if you can get more create products where the conversations would be around health, not sustainability that much, not environment that much, but health conversations that started. Taste is paramount, health is the conversation. So you feed the need, the silent majority through taste, and you feed the vocal minority through health. In food, I think that's the trend that we are seeing more and more and more.
But that's food for social consumption, so that there is conversation over there. What about the large amount of personal consumption?
Actually, today that's its conversion, because the conversations are happening in an environment, because the food that is being consumed, it's being consumed. It's like always in communities. It's wine. I will eat alone, but we still like to eat, whether in office environment, wherever. It is something. The conversations are created through Instagram, through all those pictures. So there are larger communities that are being created. Even when I eat everything, I like to create conversation around it. Earlier it was with the family or just the office. Now that continues, and that also has grown to bigger communities that we form within ourselves. Could be smaller, bigger, and we go out. There is some response. We go out of that. So conversations are actually happening.
So my son is a fitness enthusiast, and as a result of that, we have an existential crisis at home. We have no idea what to eat. Almost anything that we want to eat, he frowns upon. And he said, Of course, whatever he suggests that we eat, we don't want to eat. So that's a different thing.
I'll just add to what Sheffield also said. I think very clearly in food, whether it's in the home, out of home, etc., taste is paramount. If you don't cut that barrier, I think you're out. I mean, however healthy you may be, however, whatever else X, Y, or Z, you are out. So you need to cross that barrier of taste, and then only do the other conversation.
How do we trigger trials? Prashant, how do we trigger trials in millennials? So what would trigger that?
I think it's also kind of related, because taste is what I think differentiates think millennials, the beauty is curiosity. Right? So how do I potentially stroke an element or an iota of curiosity in that particular consumer to try something? So curiosity for them is cost, not as much. Right? So they understand value. Right? So I think our points that was mentioned is not about 5%. They did not recognize me of the it's not around it's what am I really going to get for this? Honesty is something extremely important. Right? Because in millennial days, you see what it is. Right? It is more in terms of if you see a typical millennial, you speak to them, it is I am what I am, like it or not, this is who I am. Right? Like me, great, else because of it. Right? That's kind of a language. So as a brand, as long as it's well, you also kind of speak that same language. It starts resonating. It's more about week to week out. One of the things in terms of the trial, right, is so when you have, like Narayan was mentioned, when you're in a store, how do you get either your promoter or your sales team to talk to a millennial? It's a big challenge. It's a big challenge, right? Because then, which essentially means I need to get a millennial to actually be there, talk to them. Now, millennial, how are you going to get them to stand there? Because I must have stood there and maybe sold, let's say, a BPL to me. Of course, 500 rupees that's all over. Today, you tell a millennial, no. So if you actually see with consumer sales, I'm sure you'll agree, 1,000 rupees, you get a millennial to do a survey, I mean, hats off if you can ever do that. So they'll say, what is 2,000 rupees? I don't care. Right? So the whole point is how do you make it conversational? And which, interestingly, what we've seen is Instagram, Snapchats of the world. Those are much more important. So how do you get the vocalists, right, to help you come to something else? Because the peer-to-peer interaction to generate trials is much more significant than brand marketing.
So talking about trials, very often people talk about how can a product become a unicorn? We don't have the finances, we don't have the muscle power, we don't have the marketing. So, but can you talk about that for a moment? Does one really require a large amount of marketing budgets to make a unicorn, or can just triggering an undiscovered consumer want do it?
Good marketing budget is always very uncertain. It allows the marketing people to display their creativity, make some fancy advertising, exotic locales, and then spend some money to do some media education. So it's always very good to do that. But then what it cannot change, what money cannot change is your product, or is let's say the solution being offered, firstly the right proposition. Is it something that the consumer values? And the first core has to be right. Because that core being right will then create that impression. No amount of money will get that person in the store for something which is completely irrelevant. The second thing I think is the question on value. Now what will happen is that you might get the person, so first will come accessibility, so it has to be accessible. That is one very important aspect that people overlook. So yes, there is the e-com of the world, but there is still the large populace which goes into the regular store. So is it in that store, and how do you invest in getting your product there, listed there, available there, visible there? And that's when the value equation, the next step that comes in is the value equation in my mind. Now that I've seen it, I've heard the proposition, does it make sense to buy at whatever is being offered? It need not be price, it may be value. For example, again, just going back to Ford was more expensive than X. But the consumer saw value in the 800 sprays, I think, that there were out there. After which, I think the product has to deliver. So, the money part in terms of a marketing budget, good to have, great to have. It accelerates possibly this rate of getting people in and the awareness in store. I think we've got more examples. Think of Balaji. I don't remember ever seeing a Balaji ad, ever, at all. But you see it in the West. You find it across stores, you find that it has a decent market share. But then it's coming from the value of the product and strong distribution. Haldiram's. Again, I don't really remember too much advertising investment. But still, offering possibly something unique, something different, like you speak about this Indian food, but more hygienic. money and investment, great to have, but it has to be the right place. I mean, accessibility first, affordability. Get that value equation right, and then top it up with investment. Okay.
Sarina, you're running short of time. Oh, I'd just like to add, I mean, during this whole conversation, right, I'm just thinking that in my past experience also even now, millennials naturally lead to fragmentation because they naturally have, they're more vocal and the silent majority naturally leads you towards massification, standardization. I think it's very hard to make a unicorn millennial-centric. It's very, very tough because I can take example, for example, 3 years ago, Open was the rage in China with millennials. It was like multiple, suddenly it changed over to some aloe vera based or something else, and so that industry bombed and something else moved there. So, and we've done massive kind of, we've done massive spends in trying to say how to shape, how to even with massive amounts of ads, registering with millennials is extremely tough. And they naturally look for diversion, distraction, ability to be different. So, I think that anything when we're talking unicorn and millennial, I think the millennial can provide a voice and the pull factor around it with the fact that what we're talking about silent majority which exists already. That is the core of what needs to be addressed. Otherwise, they'll focus on play.
So interesting there, just like to add on this, which essentially for a product company, which means a product line is right? How do you constantly innovate? Because like the trends are going to be constantly different because the whole point of the core is I'm different. Right? So how do you, which then breaks down a classic business model, right? Mass manufacturing, great product, let me make 5 million of them, every year it will grow 3x, 4x, right? It just breaks that whole model versus saying every year I'm just going to come up with something totally different. And so what I call mass customization. So if you're able to do that, it's
an interesting example in fashion, for example, is that if you take any fast fashion brand, eventually men would sell for white shirts or blue shirts, right? All of that other thing is just just playing around. Vanilla and chocolate syndrome, right? So eventually that is the silent majority, is very white, right? So I think that's where one has to be pragmatic around this. Saying that you eventually need to buy the blue shirts, and yes, you need the other colors to talk.
Okay, so I'll end with, I began with you, Sanjeev, I'll end with you. And, question is, where will the next unicorn come from? Will it come from the Indian palette? Will it come from an acquired place? Which palette will the next unicorn come from?
I don't think there can be any prophecy which can be made, but I completely agree with Hemant here. I think the unicorn, the probability, high probability of unicorn emerging out of millennials is highest, but not for millennials. I think that is
That's an interesting distinction you're making.
Yeah, so it would be definitely the mind of today, but the demand of the whole of India, the unifying need, because that's the market size that we are talking. And if we have to look at something naturally for unifying, technology will come into place, technology need is there, but there has to be latent silent need that is there, which is unifying need. And that need may not be fulfilled by a product. It may not be, it's very difficult to scale that up in our country to an extent of where we qualify for a unicorn. So it will be something which could be probably a need you and I fulfill. Maybe it is something I know that you are Parsi and you, I love the food, but can I get it from you? Can I get that food from your house? And you have the ability to cook that, and you would like to taste what is cooked in my house. And if there is a system that can be created and executed well, is funded well, and we have the patience, which actually it's our character. Like charity in India is it's very, very low in terms of we are not at a stage we have learned the art of giving. We may earn, but we don't give that much back. We have not reached that stage of maturity. So I think patience in business also. India as a country needs that maturity. We have not reached that stage. So till we get there, it will be a challenge, and we know what $1 billion means. Let's look at how many food brands who have been here for over 2-3 decades. Handful.
Nothing. Yeah, you talked about Parsis, so clearly there can't be any unicorns in that Parsi marriage. Right?
That's true.
There are only 5.5 of us. So with that, a big thank you for my panel. Questions? Yeah.
Hello. I love Indian sweets and I hate the Cadbury ad Kuch Mita Ho Jao and trying to change the Indian product to chocolates and the definition that you need to have a chocolate for festives. While we speak about that, we've spoken about opportunities. Is there going to be a category which is going to see a demise because of the changing trends in India? Right? These both the, because Indian sweets, chocolates, or any food categories is going to go off the Indian palate. I think that's not being touched by this esteemed panelists. Some color on that.
Yeah, go for it. Taking this example of chocolates that you raised, and so now I'll take a parallel example. If you look at the chocolate market, it's today dominated by, you've got Cadbury, you've got Nestle, you've got Ferrero Rocher now, etc. All again, the multinationals who have established a beachhead over here and doing reasonably well, which is there. In parallel, you also have a completely more challenging dessert category called ice creams. If you look at the whole ice cream market, yes, you have one or two big multinationals which are there, but all local, regional, homegrown players, from a Mother Dairy in the north to a Cream Bell to a Amul to a Vadilal, and then down south you got a Dairy Day, Plaza, etc. A very different spread of farm. Ice cream is a far more challenging category, being a cold store and all of the whole cold chain challenges which are there. But if you look at the rate of innovation in the ice creams category, it's possibly 10 times more than in the chocolate category. You can't have an innovation on chocolate just by saying it is Valentine's Day and put a few cartoon characters on the back and then say that it is Valentine's Day and then going around and gifting chocolates.
That's not innovation.
That's not innovation. Whereas if you look at the whole ice cream category, whether they put in Indian ethnic sweets into ice cream, to different fruits, to different product concepts, so the way this whole, so it's all completely driven by taste, innovation which is there. And we see the ice cream category today growing at far higher. Possibly it is much bigger than the chocolate category today. But that is where we can see the whole parallels coming out. So that's how we have to really build on it.
I think on mithai, and also one thing if everyone is thinking of food, shelf life is very, very important. So the way India is, the way distribution is shelf life. So ice cream can be frozen. So frozen distribution channel has improved. We can reach there. Dried. So shelf life in mithai, unfortunately, what we like and love is 24 hours. Okay, and there are few things where the shelf life is higher. That's why son papdi can be transported more, and it is something that you can do. So maybe 15 years ago, I did a project on mithais for large company, largest chocolate company, and we created lots of products. But those products, fantastic products based around mithai, never saw light of day because of shelf life issues. So while the need is to have fresh foods, but to create something big, we are always looking at higher shelf life. But now we are seeing that shift and change. So companies like he mentioned, it's a product which is short shelf life product, and through distribution But what's the scale? Fantastic. Noise is Lord.
So is there an opportunity for infrastructure packaged foods to grow?
Definitely always is, but to create a unicorn out of it, because all these things, they are, you need to stage, you need to spread, it takes time. It is not that you can say, okay, these blocks built and I can do this. It is slow, it takes time. So unicorn, no, opportunity is.
For example, there could be still opportunities maybe in terms of when you say sweets, people want to have them at home, but there are range of solutions in terms of dessert mixes. Unfortunately, what happens is that, at least in my experience, they don't really offer the same benefit of taste, which is crucial to what you get in your neighborhood like or Now, maybe the moment somebody cracks that, that's an opportunity, a big opportunity. When you talk of, again, the guys who are running the sweet shops, and you think of someone who's able to talk of not being adulterated, somebody who's able to talk of and say that, you know what, I'm a great taste, and at the same time, I use the best of ingredients. Maybe that's another opportunity. But you never know how big it could be.
Any other question? One lonely hand over there. Right? Then was one more there.
Sorry, I stole it. My question is, so in today's times, now Maggie is very big, and you have to pay the quotes and whatnot. But say you're doing something and you're doing it well, and in India there's this whole concept of a lot of Me Too companies. So once you cracked the right ramen or the right juice, you'll see a bunch of other local competitors which essentially you yourself have created. In that perspective, what is your outlook towards a scenario like that, where I understand that big companies is like, okay, it's time to differentiate, but is sometimes over differentiated a kill, what's your outlook on this matter?
I think that the trick has to be learned from the service industry. So it's about constantly upgrading that experience. I think Singapore Airlines used to do this very, very well. So you walk in, and at that point of time, you're getting used to a certain level of service. Okay, maybe let's just talk hypothetically. You get some food, and you're like, wow, this is something that no one else has. As you said, people start copying that. They start getting it to the same level. Like, add something else. Next time the person comes in, I'll be greeted by my name. Now, what you're doing is, in every interaction, as people catch up, you need to make sure that you keep setting the bar high. So the same thing is there out here. In terms of, let's say, food, you have a base product which is there. Then you keep doing stuff around it, which makes you top of mind, which makes you being seen as a different player, let's say, offering a certain benefit that the other doesn't have.
So just add on to that, and as I said, we've been on for actually come up with a few products and trying to do this entire space. I think one of the best things that we've done is we focused ourselves on two spaces. So the core of our business is around millets and ancient grains. So one of the things that we figured was as this whole revolution, be it Ragi, Jowar, Bajra, and as people go in there, the one part that was there was technology. Because just to take case in point of what you were saying, is how do I become one of the best processors? How do I ensure that I can skill myself at a completely different level, and I'm always 4 steps ahead. So that's from a back end, right? Because as we launched and as we did a bunch of stuff, I have now 9 companies which do pretty much what they try to do, the same stuff. But thankfully when the food is on the table, right, I stand apart. But that's also because I'm constantly aware that it is a land of the country, right? So at the end of the day, it's going to happen. You're seeing it very classic in the post-press kind of this way. But at the same time, how do we also communicate and keep that core consumer base? Right? How do you constantly touch them? How do you then, because at the end of the day, if you're a smallish company, it is possible for you to have direct interaction with a lot of your core consumers. So as you have, then it starts, the value you start actually creating becomes much more different. And at the same time, protect yourself from the back end so that you're able to be ahead of it.
My side next to you. Yeah. I'd just like to say that being a relatively small company, we face the challenges of so far. And if you were to look at how do these regional, smaller, new companies come, like traditionally or typically, why would a customer taxes on 30 to 40% of your eventual product output, you are basically, you can be as professional as you want, you can be as great with service, etc. Someone's 20%, 30% cheaper than you, you're out. There's no question. We can keep talking. So I think that control or that level playing field needs to be built in, and that's starting to come, I would say. And again, there's an opportunity to scale them, because if you cannot, even be by just efficient, you cannot match the cost structure of someone who's not in the formal network, then that's game over at the start. And I think then you can build on the other elements, saying, okay, I have this, well, Singapore is an example, right? Their average revenue per customer is far higher also. So that service costs a lot of that. So if you have an even playing field, yes, then it starts to play. I think that issue is changing.
Yeah, I don't think we can take a question. There's a young lady over here, very frantic and telling us, find it out, it's stopping right now. So, one big round of applause for my panel again.
Thank all the panelists for this valuable and insightful discussion. So many things to promote that we really didn't know, and definitely all the large MNCs and packaged shoes right now need to think how to market their new products or also even the innovations for the millennials. Thank you. Thanks a lot.